Exactly 3 years ago, April 2018, I talked to Professor Christine Awidsland the first time about tracing the Jerusalem Code. Today, on behalf of the Gruyter Publishers in Berlin, I send my sincerest congratulations to all editors and authors of this wonderful project. This is true teamwork. With my colleagues Alice Meros and Anne Hirschelmann, we try to organize all steps in the most agreeable way. We are proud to publish this work. Congratulations and thank you from Berlin. That is quite halfway between Jerusalem and Oslo.
Translating the Jerusalem Code provides amazingly rich examples of how the periphery shapes and translates the center in new ways for its own purposes. Because Jerusalem was built here in Scandinavia as well. I particularly appreciate the way in which the several dimensions of the reception history of Jerusalem are being covered.
Jerusalem was everywhere in the Middle Ages, the heavenly Jerusalem and the earthly Jerusalem. The research project on tracing the Jerusalem Code illustrates how important Jerusalem actually was also in Scandinavia. There were direct connections from Scandinavia, pilgrims, crusaders, going all the way to the Holy Land, to the earthly Jerusalem. But much more important was probably the idea of Jerusalem. It was appropriated, it was imported to Scandinavia with a lot of consequences. You could see, you could feel, you could imagine Jerusalem everywhere, from Candlemas to Crusaders, in architecture, in the relics brought physically from the Holy Land, but also in changing the Scandinavian landscape, mountains, as far as you can get them in Scandinavia, mountains and small hills were called the mountain of the Lord. And kings presented themselves as the heirs to the throne of Solomon. So Jerusalem, the idea and the importance cannot be overrated if we try to understand Scandinavia in the Middle Ages. This research project has brought to light many, many more sources than has ever been used before, and present them in an interesting synthesis with a lot of new questioning open, but also a lot of new ideas and new approaches to Jerusalem and to the Scandinavian history in the Middle Ages.
Take a look at the second volume of the 3-volume big research project with the title Tracing the Jerusalem Code in Scandinavia. The second volume treats the period between 1536 and the mid-18th century. That is the Protestant period in Scandinavia. In this period, Jerusalem as a geographical place is no longer interesting, since it also falls under the Ottoman Empire. And a spiritualized new concept of Jerusalem rises. Jerusalem is now no longer in the Middle East, but is in Wittenberg or Copenhagen or Christiania, the old name for Oslo. In the book, you can also read about how Jerusalem enters into the poetry and hymns of the Protestants. You can read about how it is depicted in visual arts. The book also puts on display how Jerusalem is important to political theory and political authority in this period, and how it enters into the historiography and the notions of salvation history. The book is large, it is 22 chapters, and the material is diverse and huge, and I look forward to delving further into it.
The third volume approaches the topic in its many different facets: historical, allegorical, and eschatological. And it covers an incredible range of topics, from travels, science and missions, even botany, to literary and other artworks, and apocalyptic uses by various lay movements and even liberal theology, to altar paintings, school books and maps. The result is both an impressive, mapping of Jerusalem, but also a mapping of Jerusalem onto Scandinavia. The new Zion appears in the most unexpected places, even in small-town Norway.
Tracing the Jerusalem Code is a treasure trove of knowledge about the presence of Jerusalem outside the Holy Land. Scandinavia remained for a long time a desideratum in the framework of Jerusalem visual studies. Only such a diligent group of well-trained and well-tuned scholars, the authors of these 3 volumes, could have managed to fill the gap and offer us a comprehensive overview of the many facets of the Jerusalem reception in Scandinavia. On the one hand, Scandinavia has its particularities, such as a periodization of history different from the rest of Europe, stemming from its relatively late Christianization, as well as from specific visual and textual traditions. On the other hand, this publication reveals many parallels between Scandinavia and the other European landscapes in their respective approaches to Jerusalem, so that this book promises to become a highly valued reference book. My sincere congratulations go to the distinguished group of scholars.
Tracing the Jerusalem Code is also a reminder of the immense value of interdisciplinary and pluridisciplinary work, and of the fact that reception studies suffers under a somewhat inadequate name. Reception implies passivity, but what this book shows is that Jerusalem, the holy and heavenly city, has been actively appropriated in numerous ways, has been used for a great number of purposes, from imposing order and discipline, to feeding the imagination, to being the very stuff that dreams, hopes, fears, and possible futures are made of. Congratulations.